You're listening to She's the Business podcast.
Today, we're talking about how to choose the best niche for maximum impact and easy sales. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm your host, Jessica Osborne, and in my 23 years of business and marketing, I've built many brands to become multi-billion-dollar companies. And just in the last 10 years, I've built 2 online businesses of my own from my dining room table with 2 little babies running around at my feet. I've made it my mission to inspire you to get out of your own way and become the successful business owner who's living the lifestyle you really desire without all the hustle. This is She's the Business podcast, made by women for women. This is your weekly dose of motivation and inspiration.
So finding your niche can be one of those things in business that can feel like it just takes forever, right? I've heard of some people saying it took them 8 years to really discover what their niche truly is. And others who have had so many changes and pivots, it kind of felt like really confusing in those first few years of their business until they finally settled on where they felt it to be right. And, you know, it's different for all of us. I think some people are instantly 100% certain on what it is because they've got something super specific, and others who've got so much experience and expertise and different skills that it can become quite overwhelming to think, well, what part of this, what part of everything that I know and can do should I really be leaning into for my business so that I give my business the best chance of making a bigger impact, obviously having easy sales and everything that means for you, which is probably increased profit, profitability, more freedom, definitely fulfillment, all of the things that, you know, why we're here in the first place, right? So this is a super important discussion that I wanted to have with you today because choosing the best niche for you is something that only you can do, but there are definitely some guidelines and frameworks that I've developed over the years to make this an easier process so that you don't have to spend 8 years trying to figure it out, feeling lost and uncertain, and, you know, in all that time, your business really going nowhere. Because to be perfectly honest, and I've seen this so many times, I would say this is a universal rule. Until you have defined that niche and defined it properly, I'm not saying it may not change, it can, but you need to have this niche defined for your business. And until you do, nothing else really works. It's going to be super hard to have an offering that is relevant to your audience. It's really hard to create your messaging, to do the right marketing activities, to even have the right sales systems, onboarding systems, anything. It's really hard when you haven't got your niche. Once you've got that piece in place, it's like you're building a house and you're laying the foundation. Well, the niche is like the concrete slab of your house. Like, it has to go in before you do anything else. You can't start building the frame until you've got the slab down, right? Or even maybe the formwork in the first place for the slab. So it's absolutely essential. And if you don't have it, and if you're thinking, well, maybe I think I do, but if your business isn't feeling easy, clear, and it's not growing, you know, just through what you're doing, like organically, without you putting in tons and tons and tons and tons of effort every day, then it's a sign that you maybe haven't actually defined it. And if I share with you before I get into this, you know, I'm going to share with you what my framework is because I'm so passionate about this. I actually speak on many, many podcasts about this exact topic, and I know everybody always loves it. So I thought, hey, let's bring it into She's the Business today. But before I get started on that, I thought I'd share a story with you because I think stories are always so useful, right? Well, one of my clients last year, she joined my program, Business Jam, and this isn't unique to her, by the way. This is something I see a lot of people do, but sort of went through the first pieces pretty quickly thinking, yep, got that sorted, done. Now just tell me what to do. Like what do I need? What sort of social media do I need? And what do I need to be doing? And what sort of funnels? And just getting out there. She's like attending events and networking groups, started a podcast, had social media accounts, is posting things on there and just going, I'm just like feeling like I'm getting no traction. And of course, immediately thinking, well, what is it that I'm not doing? And decided, well, I must need to do more PR. I need to get in front of more people. Maybe that's the problem. So again, taking an action and activity to get out there in front of people. And it was frustrating for her to kind of feel like, wow, I've just spent this entire year doing all of these things. And she, gone off and listened to some other people and done some other programs, and then came back to me at the start of the year and said, I'm ready to actually get this sorted. And knowing that it's probably not what she'd been focusing on. It was probably something more in that foundational piece that needed to be adjusted and aligned so that it worked. And having said that, even though she knew it still took a little bit of time. It took a bit of process for her to really choose what it was going to be and then to get specific. But the amazing part of the story is that literally a few weeks ago, she decided on something very, very clear and specific. And as soon as she decided it, started putting it out there, started to talk about it on her social media, didn't really do a lot else, like just decided it and got specific. Meeting people at an event. She's like, oh, people are actually booking in a call with me. They know what it is that I do. They're booking a call wanting to work with me already. And then it's just a matter of, do we like each other? Is this going to gel and work? But they were already wanting it, right? And I said, yeah, exactly. That is why we do this. That is what defining your niche is all about. It is actually having something so clear and specific that other people know what it is that you can do for them. So they are like, yes, that's exactly what I need. You're the right one for me. And they're reaching out to you. So in all the things that I often talk about, if you've been listening to the podcast, you'll find, and go back through the episodes, you'll find I often talk about attracting and not chasing clients, being able to bring them in and that magnetic ability that you have to attract. A major part of it is your niche. Now, niche is a funny topic that lots of people talk about, but I find that most people really go surface level with it. And they either are talking about what it is that you do, like your expertise, or who it is that you help, which also doubles as your ideal client, right? But it's the market that you're in there to be in and to serve, aka your niche. This is like your niche is your space where you're there to shine. Now, I love to create the analogy because I think it really helps to think about it this way. When the word niche is French, and it came from, where you're thinking about a building and they would put these alcoves in the wall. They actually called niches. They created a niche in order to display a beautiful statue, a sculpture, a piece of art. And they did that so that this statue or piece of art had its own space and it could kind of stand apart. It wasn't just standing on the floor of the building. It was up high in the wall in a niche that was sort of carved out of the wall so that people could see it. Now, if you've been thinking, well, I'm like the industry's best kept secret, or I can see so many people out there that I can see they need my help, but they can't see that I'm the one to help them. And how frustrating that is, right? Well, you're not in your niche. They can't see you because you're probably standing on the floor of the building amongst the crowd with everybody else. So when you can get up into that specially created space where you're standing above the heads of the crowd and people can actually see you, well, amazing. You're not the best kept secret anymore. Those people can finally see that you're there and that you're the one to help them. So I love to use that little visual. I keep remembering all the times that I visited, Italy, especially I think in Rome, there's just some absolutely amazing ancient buildings. And, in the Vatican, the Sistine Chapel, and, you really do see what they created. And these buildings are full of specially built niches for these pieces of art. So if you imagine that, you're like, yes, that's what I want to be. I want to be in that niche where I can stand out because it's defined for me and it is a special place. It's not just standing on the floor of the building. So as I said, what most people teach with a niche is, just sort of defining that thing that you do, or, who is your ideal customer? And then they leave it at that and think that's all you need. Just go off there and now develop your messaging. And then you go to do messaging, you find out, I need to know all these things about who it is I'm speaking to and really understand what's going on inside their head. But there's so many different things and aspects. And it's like, yeah, because we kind of haven't gone specific enough. When you are specific, you know exactly what the thoughts are that are running through their brains. Like you can literally hear them because you know this person so well to the level of specificity that you need to be able to find the messaging really easy. You can apply any messaging framework you're given and know immediately what you're going to say. So when that's not happening for you, that means that it's not about the messaging. It's not because you're not a copywriter by trade. You don't need to be. It's because you're not clear enough. So when I started teaching about the niche, I really thought, well, there's actually 3 aspects to it. So most people are doing 1, some are doing 2, but there's really 3 that go into defining it properly. And it's what I call your expert zone. So you imagine when you have a Venn diagram, you've got the 3 circles, they overlap or interlink, and there's that place in the middle where all 3 circles overlap each other. That is your expert zone. So when you're outside of that, when you're in a space where there's only 1 circle or maybe 2 of them overlapping, it's not defined enough to be powerful. And this is so important if you're a coach, a consultant, any type of advisor where people are hiring you to help with advice based on your knowledge, your expertise, what's inside your head, the knowledge that you have, the experience, what you're selling is really what's inside your head. That clear understanding that you have, the expertise that means that you can look at something and immediately see what's going on, whereas it might take them weeks, years, months, who knows how long to figure it out, right? They're paying you for that because it's taken you time to build it. That's your area of expertise. And it's why it's so important that we do define your expert zone when you're a coach or a consultant or an advisor, because that is your collateral. That is actually what it is that someone's wanting to buy from you. So when we're less defined about it, when we're just like, yeah, I know lots of things and I can help you with so many different things, the value of that diminishes. The greater scope we're trying to encompass, the value goes down. So imagine when you get more specific and more defined, so your scope comes in, the value goes up because you are leaning in to the area that you have more expertise in. And the more you lean in, the less other people have the same as you and the more specialized you become. Now, I'm not saying that you need to only serve one very specific type of person. You may have an expertise that's so specific and defined that you can have different types of avatars, but they've all got the same problem. They've all got the same reason why they want to work with you. And therefore it can be less defined there. But we need to be clear enough so that someone is recognizing that it is you who's the person to help them with their problem. So when you think about the 3 dimensions, I mentioned we've got the 3 circles. So in the very first circle, the easiest one to start off with is, of course, always yourself, right? So what is it that you do? What is it that you are here on this earth to do? So for a lot of us, especially if you started your business like I did and you've had 20 years of experience in the workforce, you've done lots and lots of many things, and you've built skills in many areas. This is not about trying to describe everything that you do. This is not a CV where you've got this list of skills, and it used to be a thing. I'm hoping that people aren't doing this anymore, but certainly was a thing to just start adding more and more and more to your CV. And it was like, the more different things that the better it is to have you as an employee. And I'm like, actually, only where it's relevant to the role, right? And it's the same in business. Like, people don't need a description of everything that you know and do. They actually all they want to know is what you do best. So if it's like, if you were going to win an award for something because this is like really your thing, where you've got knowledge, you understand it, you get it. It might be something really easy for you. It doesn't really matter. It's what the other person doesn't have, right? And that's where you want to begin, is with your expertise and really understanding what that is. Now, it becomes easy when we start overlapping the circles. So you might get to a point where you're like, okay, I've sort of described it, but we're going to get more specific. So as you add each circle, it gets more and more defined, and it might help you come back around. You might do a couple of laps of these circles in order to define in what it really is. So the next circle we're going to add on is the one that is about your client, your ideal client. So this is who it is that you're here to serve with the skill that you've defined, right? So I've got this skill, my expertise, and now it's like, who am I best to help with this? Not everyone is going to be your ideal customer. Not everyone who could use that skill that you have or that knowledge has a need or a want for it. They are not all your ideal customer. And it's okay to not serve them all, by the way, because there's just you. And the more that you're tuned into those who are the best fit for you, then the better results both of you will get. Okay. It is a win-win to actually define that and to decide who's going to fit best for me in my business. Because when they're the best fit, then it works the best. You have the best connection. You're able to communicate better. There's a greater commitment. There's a greater synergy going on. And no matter what it is that you are coaching them through, whether it's, healthy habits and wellness, whether it's helping them to shift some of their beliefs, whether it's their business strategy, their marketing, it doesn't matter what it is. It's not the same working with different types of people. So you really want to understand, well, who do I best fit to work with? What type of person would be my ideal client, so that we're going to get the best results together? Because you, as the coach or advisor, often you're not doing the work. You're often helping them to do the work. Now, I'm sure that you can think back to a time in your earlier years where maybe you had a teacher who just you didn't gel with them. Maybe you had a coach or a trainer at some point in your sporting career as a younger child, and you're just like, I just don't like how they talk or what they say or how they do things. Whereas someone else in that class or that team might have been absolutely thriving under that way that they did it. So it's about knowing who's going to be the best fit for you, and what does that look like? Not just, well, I'll know them when I know them. It's like, no, let's actually get clear and define that. Like, what makes someone a great fit for you? What makes someone not a great fit for you? I love to always ask the negative question, because it's often easier to answer the nots rather than the what ares. So you've now got the two circles here, and you're starting to get a clear picture of, right, this is what I do and this is who I help. Now, the third one that literally nobody else does, and this is what I think is the secret sauce of business jam. Maybe I should call it the secret spread. the amazing jam that's like goes onto that scone with the cream and it just really makes it, that is your way of doing it, right? Because if you stop at the other two, if you stop with the what and the who, it's not necessarily unique to you, right? Somebody else might have the same skill as you. Someone else might say, hey, I'm an expert in shifting people's fears so that they can, move forward in their life or their business. Well, there's plenty of people out there who say that and who have that as their expertise. You may have some differences in the who, but get enough people out there who do that for a thing, and there's going to be some people who have the same target person as you. But what makes you different is you, of course. It's like, so how do we bring this into it? Well, whether you believe it or not, your way of helping your clients is going to be different to someone else's, because you're bringing in so many unique elements of you into this relationship, into your offering, into how you deliver it, whether it's one-to-one or in a group or even a course. It's still you, the way that you're presenting that information. How are you helping someone to visualize what it is that they're doing? How are you helping motivate them to take those steps? They're all going to have nuances of you that is not like anybody else. And so really thinking about and defining what is your way, like what is it about you, your approach that sets you apart. And this doesn't mean that you need to go and research everybody out there to see what they're all doing and try to figure out a difference to be and step into that difference. No, I'm like, do that dead opposite. Actually, start looking at inwardly, like start discovering about yourself, because it's the funniest thing, because it's you and you're in your own body and you're in your own head every single day. To you, what it is that you are is normal. This is just the status quo. This is normality. This is how I'm living my life every day. And so you naturally don't actually perceive it as anything special, unique, different, because it's just you. It's what you've always had. And likely the thing that you do really well is something that came really naturally to you. And it's not the same for other people. And the funny thing is that when you actually start to do this work to look inside to see, well, what is it that is my way? Like, what is that thing that I do really well and how I do it? You might discover it's like right under your nose the whole time, but you were just dismissing it because it was too obvious or too much of the status quo, the normality that you're living your life in. But here is where that absolute value is, because, you know, yes, there are billions of humans on this planet, but we have uniqueness, right? We have uniqueness. And the more you can step in and just define, like, this is what I do, this is who I help, and this is how I do it, this is my special sauce, my secret way, my jam. The more you know what that is, then just imagine the difference in how you're communicating with people. You've created your niche up on the wall where you're above the heads of people because you're clear. When you're clear, you're confident, and people can hear that in your voice. They can hear it. They feel it in the energy of what it is that you're saying. And suddenly you're going to find that people are paying attention to you. And of course, the more clear you are about who it is that you're speaking to, the easier it is for those people to prick their ears up and go, this person is speaking to me. They know it. Why do they know it? Because you're being so specific. It's like they feel very seen. They're like, oh my goodness, it is like she's got a video camera inside my house. She's watching me. She knows what I'm doing. She knows what I'm thinking. And it's spooky. It's spookily accurate for them. They know that you're speaking to them because it's unmissable. Whereas when we're being really generic, when we're like, yeah, I help people shift their fears, people are thinking, okay, great. So when I have a fear, I want shifting, go to that person. Maybe are they the right person for me? I don't know. What sort of fear might I want to shift? I don't know. It's so kind of vague. So when you change from that, for example, you're like, right, well, I help people shift their fears around money and around that, their money mindset, their blocks that are stopping them from being able to receive money or earn money. Wow, suddenly everyone's like, I know exactly what that is. I know what that fear feels like. I know what that's looking like in my life right now. So they are clear straight away, and they know that this is relevant for them if that's a fear that they're experiencing, which then means, hey, guess what? You're speaking to the people who already want what it is that you're selling. So you're in your expert zone, and expert doesn't mean that you have to be the number one expert in the entire world on something. It's like, no, it's your expert zone. And when you do this right, it's actually going to be really hard for someone else to be in there. You're going to have very few, if any, true competitors. And it doesn't really matter about them anyway, because you're so clearly in your expert zone that you're magnetic. You're visible. People are attracted to you. And more than likely, you'll have more people attracted to you than what you know what to do with. So you now have a very good problem of like, great, how do I serve all these people? Well, now I can make more impact than I've ever thought I could possibly do before. And, the other added benefit to that is usually that means as well more income. It really does start with this. It is the number one thing. That's why inside Business Jam, this is the very first module that we get into. After we've sort of set the groundwork and we know what it is that we're aiming for, this is number one piece of your strategy, because if you don't have it, it's really hard to go keep on going to the other pieces and try to get the other bits of your strategy working, you're just going to have endless frustration with why people aren't buying, why aren't they listening, paying attention, why aren't I getting leads, why aren't they joining my audience, all of that stuff. And everybody's looking at the wrong things to try to solve it. It's like, let's start. Number one, you do not get to pass go and collect your $200 like on the Monopoly board if you have not done the full lap and defined your expert zone. When you have it, it's like you can do laps of the board super quick. And I love seeing that happen. It's why, you think of, there's some success stories like the one that I've been telling you about today. Well, she went from having, $1,000 in a month earned to having 10K, in 6 days. It was like 6 days into the month, 10K already on the books. Boom. That is like 10xing your business. And it wasn't even the end of the month yet, like literally the start of the month. And that is honestly simply because of nailing this. She collected her 200, she passed go, she got her expert zone defined. Now, this is not perfection. This is not like you need to do it to the level of perfection. No, and it will change, it will evolve. You will even get more specific probably as you go on, but it's got to be to the point where there's enough specificity for you to be abundantly clear and for other people to be abundantly clear as well. You know when it works because first of all, you get the fluffy feeling of like the butterflies and the tingling cheeks because you know that this is your thing and you're like excited, so excited about it, you can hardly stop smiling. So you know that you're in the right thing to begin with. And then you get that validation because as soon as you start talking about it, doing anything externally, people will start responding. And that's how you know. And it's really that simple. I know it sounds crazy. Like you don't even need to have a social media account. You can do this. I've had clients who haven't even got to that point. They define their expert zone, they set up an offer, and people that were already kind of in their world, in whatever else it was they were doing, they weren't on social media, they already just started signing those clients. So it's incredible what can happen. And for everybody, it's different. Everybody's business is different. The situation, the environment you're in are slightly different. But these 5 key things that we have in Business Jam in your strategy are the same for every business. That's why they are like the building blocks. It's why they're essential. It's the same thing I mentioned before, like building a house. Well, this is where you've got your foundation, right? And then it doesn't matter what type of house you want to build on it, whether you want bricks, whether you want wood, whether you like big windows, whether you want round windows, square windows, what kind of roof, if it's a flat roof, a triangle roof, a pitched roof, all of those things don't matter as much. As long as you've got this foundation in place, then you can build the house that you want on it. And that's what we do in Business Jam, is really get that foundation there and then help you define and design the structure of the house that you want to be living in, because, your business is such a huge part of your daily life. You want to be in your dream house. You don't want to be in some crappy one that someone else designed that's really not quite right for you, and you wish you could just move the bathroom or change how big the bedrooms are, or something's wrong in the kitchen. We don't want to be creating that. And that's what happens when you try to build someone else's business, following their this is what to do and exactly the steps of building their business. No, you want to actually build your own dream house, but understanding how do these elements work together? How do I build a functional house that's going to stand up in the storm and it's going to be strong? It's going to be something I can build on if I want to in the future. Well, that's what we all should be really aiming to do. And hopefully what I've shared with you today has helped you to see why this critical piece of your expert zone is absolutely the foundations in the slab. It's essential. You cannot build one without it. So I hope this helped get you some clarity, and I really look forward to helping you with more. If you want to find out more about these 5 pieces of your strategy, then I have a free online class. It's available right now on my website. You can go to it, called The Magnetic Formula, 5 Keys to Premium Paying Clients. And register for that session, dive in. It's a little bit over an hour. Like I've crammed a 3-day training into an hour, but I didn't quite get it down to an hour. It's not much longer than an hour, but you are getting this information literally on the fastest pace I can possibly deliver it to you. So get ready, make sure you have a pen and paper, make sure that you have some time blocked out because it's not full of fluff. I do go at a pretty quick speed and there's loads to take in, but I take you through all 5 of those ingredients so you really get that picture of what it is that we need to be having in our business. And, don't dismiss it as, oh, this is just, it's boring or something I already know. Well, if you already knew it, then you'd have the dream house. If you were implementing that correctly, then you would have the dream house. So there's something obviously that's not quite right if we haven't got the dream house, right? And that means that there could be some information around it. There could be a way that you're applying or implementing it that isn't aligned. And that's what this class is all designed about. It's to help you to determine that, to see where you might have some holes right now in that strategy. So get your name down, head over to my website, you'll find it there and you can register, and I'll drop the links in the show notes for you. So that's the Magnetic Formula class and I hope to see you in there. Okay, talk next week. Bye.